"She's worthless," my stepmother said at dinner. "Let's take her room." Her daughters nodded. I stayed silent, their words cutting deep. That night, I left with nothing but a bag. A month later, my phone exploded with their pleas. "Come back, we need you." But I'd built a new life in another state. Their cruelty fueled my rise. Now I'm strong and their begging is just noise. My revenge is my success. I still remember the exact sound of my stepmother's voice when she said those words. Sharp, cold, like ice cracking on a frozen pond. The way she looked right through me while cutting into her steak, like I wasn't even worth acknowledging as a human being sitting at the same table. My dad had passed away 6 months earlier from a heart attack, and honestly, looking back now, I think that woman was just waiting for him to be gone so she could show her true colors. While he was alive, she played this whole sweet stepmom act, you know? Bringing me Starbucks after school, asking about my day, pretending to care about my college applications. But the second Dad was in the ground, that mask came off faster than a NASCAR pit crew changing tires. That particular dinner was supposed to be about planning for the upcoming school year. I was going to be a senior, had been working my tail off at Target all summer to save up for college expenses. Nothing fancy, mind you, just trying to cover textbooks and maybe a decent laptop for classes. I'd been living in the same bedroom since I was 12 when Dad and I first moved into her house. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. Had my old Nirvana posters on the walls, my bookshelf crammed with everything from Harry Potter to The Great Gatsby, and this little desk where I'd spent countless nights doing homework while sipping Dr. Pepper and listening to music. Her two daughters, Madison and Ashley, were sitting there nodding along like those bobblehead dogs people put in their car dashboards. These girls had never worked a day in their lives. I'm talking silver spoon territory here. Madison was 21 and still living. At home, bouncing from one community college class to another, spending most of her time posting Instagram selfies and complaining about everything. Ashley was 19, dropped out of high school senior year because it was too stressful, and spent her days binge-watching Netflix shows and ordering DoorDash with mommy's credit card. But apparently, according to my stepmother, I was the worthless one. "She doesn't contribute anything to this household," she continued, gesturing toward me with her fork like I was some kind of bug she'd found in her salad. "Madison needs more space for her art projects, and Ashley wants to convert that room into a gaming setup. It just makes sense." I sat there gripping my glass of sweet tea so tight I thought it might shatter in my hand. The logical part of my brain wanted to point out that I'd been paying my own way since I turned 16, that I bought my own food half the time, that I did more chores around that house than her precious daughters combined. But something about the way they were all looking at me, like it was already decided, like my opinion didn't matter at all, just shut me right up. My phone buzzed on the table, probably my best friend Jessica texting about weekend plans, and my stepmother's eyes narrowed. "And another thing, you're always on that phone, so disrespectful. When I was your age, we respected our elders." The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife, considering Madison literally had her iPhone propped up against her water glass, probably live tweeting the whole conversation or something. Update: "Hey everyone, thanks for all the support in the comments." I know some of you are wondering why I didn't fight back or stand up for myself in that moment. Trust me, I've replayed that scene a million times in my head, thinking of all the things I could have said. But here's the thing about emotional abuse. It chips away at you slowly, like water wearing down a stone. What happened next, though? That's when everything really hit the fan. Should I have seen the signs earlier? That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Madison and Ashley giggling in the next room about their big renovation plans. They were already on Pinterest, looking up gaming chair setups and art easel arrangements, talking about which wall would be perfect for Ashley's new 65-inch TV that mommy had promised to buy her. Something inside me just snapped. Not in an angry way, but more like clarity hitting me upside the head with a Louisville slugger. I realized I had two choices: stick around and become their personal punching bag for the next year until I graduated, or take control of my own story. I started planning that night, opened up Google on my laptop, and started researching emancipation laws, looking into early graduation options, checking out community colleges in different states. Turns out my dad had left me a small life insurance policy that my stepmother didn't know about, just $5,000, but it might as well have been $1 million to me in that moment. The next morning, while they were all sleeping in until noon like usual, I was already at the bank talking to a financial advisor about setting up my own account. Then, I hit up the guidance counselor at school, Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd always been in my corner. That woman was like a guardian angel, no cap. She helped me figure out how to graduate a semester early by taking some online courses and testing, out of a few classes. But here's where it gets wild. I didn't tell them any of this. For the next 3 weeks, I played along with their little game, smiled and nodded when they talked about moving my stuff to the basement, helped Madison clear out her old art supplies from the garage, acting like the most helpful stepdaughter in the world. Meanwhile, I was secretly applying to colleges in different states, looking up apartment rentals, even scoring a transfer to a Target in Denver through their internal system. The whole time, they kept making these little comments. "Oh, she's being so cooperative now," my stepmother would say to her friends on the phone, like I was some kind of trained pet learning new tricks. Madison would pat me on the head sometimes, literally pat me on the head like I was 5 years old, and tell me how mature I was being about the whole situation. I was being mature, all right, just not in the way they thought. The day I turned 18, I walked into that house with a folder full of paperwork and the biggest smile I'd ever worn. Emancipation papers, early graduation approval, college acceptance letter from university. of Colorado, Denver, apartment lease agreement, and my Target transfer confirmation. Laid it all out on the kitchen counter like I was dealing a winning poker hand. You should have seen their faces. My stepmother's jaw literally dropped open, and not in a good way. Madison spilled her iced coffee all over her new white jeans, the expensive ones she'd been bragging about all week. Ashley just stood there making this weird squeaking noise like a mouse caught in a trap. "What is all this?" my stepmother demanded, picking up the papers like they might bite her. "My exit strategy," I said, calm as could be. "I'm moving to Denver next week. Already got my job transfer approved, my apartment's ready, and I'll be starting college in January. Thanks for the motivation." The screaming started then. Oh boy, did it start. She was going on about how ungrateful I was, how I was abandoning the family, how I'd never make it on my own. Madison jumped in with this whole sob story about how they'd been planning this nice surprise for me, how they were actually going to make the basement into a cool apartment-style space just for me. Ashley, bless her heart, was just crying because she realized she wasn't getting her gaming room after all. But the best part? My stepmother tried to pull the "your father would be so disappointed" card. That's when I finally let loose. "You know what Dad would be disappointed about?" I said, standing up and looking her dead in the eye. "He'd be disappointed that the woman he married showed her true colors the second he wasn't around to protect me. He'd be disappointed that you called his daughter worthless. And he'd be proud as heck that I'm strong enough to walk away from people who don't value me." I packed my stuff that night. Didn't take much, a couple suitcases, my books, some photos of Dad and me, and my old acoustic guitar he'd bought me for my 16th birthday. Left behind all the fancy electronics and clothes they'd bought me over the years. Didn't want anything that came with strings attached. Update. Wow, you all are asking some intense questions in the comments. Yes, I was scared out of my mind moving to a new state at 18. No, I didn't have some secret trust fund or rich relatives helping me out. And yes, I definitely cried my eyes out the first night in my tiny studio apartment, eating ramen noodles, and wondering if I'd made a huge mistake. But something amazing happened after that first week. What do you think changed everything for me? Denver was like a whole different world. The mountains, the fresh air, people who didn't know my history or my family drama. Just me, starting fresh with a clean slate. My apartment was basically a glorified closet. We're talking maybe 400 square feet, shared laundry in the basement, and a kitchen so small I could touch both walls with my arms spread out. But it was mine, you know? Every stick of furniture, every dish, every decision about what color curtains to hang up. The Target job was a blessing in disguise. Yeah, retail isn't glamorous, but I quickly moved up from regular team member to team leader, then eventually to department supervisor. Turns out, when you've been dealing with family drama your whole life, managing a team of college kids and helping customers find the right shampoo is actually pretty easy. College was tougher. Taking night classes while working full-time meant I was basically running on energy drinks and determination. But I had this fire in me, this need to prove that I wasn't worthless like my stepmother had said. Every A on a test, every professor who complimented my work, every small victory felt like I was giving the finger to everyone who'd counted me out. The first few months, my phone stayed pretty quiet. I'd blocked my stepmother and Madison on social media, but I could still see Ashley's posts sometimes through mutual friends from high school. Pictures of their family dinners, vacation trips to Cancun, Madison's art studio that used to be my bedroom, now filled with expensive easels and paint supplies that didn't look like they'd ever been used. But then, around Christmas time, things started to change back home. Apparently, without me around to do the grocery shopping, laundry, cleaning, and general household management, things were falling apart faster than a house of cards in a windstorm. Madison, for all her artistic dreams, couldn't figure out how to work the washing machine. Ashley had somehow managed to flood the kitchen trying to make pasta, and I'm talking about the kind that comes in a box with directions on the side. My stepmother, who'd been so confident about her family's superiority, was suddenly dealing with 3 adults who had the life skills of toddlers. The house was a mess. Bills were getting overlooked because I'd been the one keeping track of due dates, and apparently nobody could figure out why the Wi-Fi kept going out every month when they forgot to pay the internet bill. But the real kicker came in February. I found out through Jessica, who was still in touch with some people from our high school, that my stepmother had been bragging for months about how her girls were finally getting the opportunities they deserved. Madison was supposedly going to art school, Ashley was going to get her GED and start community college, and they were all going to be this perfect little family without me dragging them down. Except none of that happened. Madison never applied to art school, Ashley never signed up for GED classes, and my stepmother was starting to realize that I hadn't just been taking up space in that house, I'd been holding it together. The first text came on a Tuesday night, in March. I was studying for my statistics midterm, probably my 4th cup of coffee of the evening, when my phone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in months. "Hey, it's Madison. How are you doing out there?" I stared at that message for a good 5 minutes before deciding to ignore it, but then came another one an hour later. "Mom says we should check on you. Make sure you're okay." Then Ashley chimed, in the next day. "Miss having you around. Things are different here." Different. That was one way to put it. By April, the messages were getting more frequent and a lot more desperate. Madison was asking if I knew how to file taxes. Ashley wanted to know if I remembered the password to the Netflix account. My stepmother, who hadn't contacted me directly yet, was apparently telling people around town that I was going through a rebellious phase and would be coming home soon. The breaking point came in May. I was working a Saturday morning shift when my phone started buzzing like crazy. Text after text, call after call, all from the three of them. I finally checked during my break, and the first message from my stepmother made my blood run cold. You need to come home immediately. Madison is in the hospital. Update. Okay, everyone, I see you freaking out in the comments about the hospital situation. I know that message sounds super scary, and honestly, my heart stopped for a second too. But before you all start writing your concerned replies, let me tell you what really happened, and why their emergency was actually the most ridiculous thing you could imagine. Ready for this plot twist? Turns out Madison wasn't dying or seriously injured or anything actually life-threatening. She'd given herself food poisoning, trying to make chicken for dinner, because apparently nobody had ever taught her about using a meat thermometer or checking if poultry is cooked all the way through. She spent one night in the ER getting IV fluids and came home the next day perfectly fine. But the way my stepmother told it, you'd think Madison was on her deathbed. She's been asking for you, the woman texted me. She needs her family right now. This is no time for your stubborn pride. My stubborn pride. That's rich, coming from the woman who'd called me worthless and kicked me out of my own bedroom. I didn't go home. Instead, I sent Madison a get well card with a gift certificate to a local cooking class. Figured she could use some basic life skills training. That's when the real flood of messages started. Not just from them, but from random relatives, family, friends, even people from church who barely knew me. All with the same basic message. Your family misses you. It's time to come home. Family is family. But here's what they didn't know. I'd been building my own family out in Denver. My coworkers at Target had become like siblings to me. There was Marcus, this guy from Texas who was putting himself through nursing school and always brought extra lunch to share with whoever needed it. Sarah, a single mom working nights to support her 2 kids, who taught me more about strength and determination than any motivational poster ever could. And Jorge, this older gentleman who'd been with the company for 15 years and treated everyone like his own grandchildren. These people celebrated when I got promoted. They helped me move to a better apartment when I could finally afford it. When I was stressed about finals, they covered my shifts without me even asking. When I got sick with the flu and couldn't afford to miss work, Sarah showed up at my door with homemade soup and insisted on taking my shift herself. That's what real family looks like. Not people who only remember you exist when they need something. The messages from home kept escalating through the summer. Ashley started calling me crying, saying she missed me and wanted me to come visit. Madison sent me long emails about how she was sorry for everything that happened, how she realized now that she'd been spoiled and hadn't appreciated what I did for the family. My stepmother went from demanding I come home to offering bribes. They'd pay for my college, buy me a car, give me my old room back, and make it even nicer. But the thing is, once you've tasted freedom, once you've built a life where people respect you and value what you bring to the table, going back to being treated like garbage isn't even tempting. It's like being offered a mud sandwich when you've been eating steak dinners. I was thriving in Denver. My grades were stellar, made Dean's List 2 semesters in a row. Work was going so well that they offered me a management training program. That would pay for the rest of my college education. I'd started dating this amazing guy, David, who was studying engineering and treated me like I was the most important person in his world. We'd go hiking in the Rockies on weekends, try new restaurants downtown, and talk for hours about our dreams and plans for the future. Life was good. Really genuinely good in a way it had never been before. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was a Friday night in October. David and I were making dinner together. He was teaching me how to make his grandmother's famous lasagna recipe when my phone rang. Unknown number, but with my old area code. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Is this really you? The voice was shaky, unfamiliar. Who is this? It's Ashley. Please don't hang up. Mom took my phone away, so I'm calling from a friend's house. I need to tell you something important. I motioned to David to turn down the music and stepped out onto the balcony. What's going on, Ashley? Mom's been lying to everyone. About why you left, about what happened, everything. She's been telling people you stole money from us and ran away because you were on drugs. She said Dad left a life insurance policy and you somehow got access to it illegally. My blood went ice cold. Not just because of the lies, though those were bad enough, but because she was messing with my father's memory, making him part of her twisted narrative. Ashley, why are you telling me this? Because I overheard her on the phone with her lawyer. She's trying to contest Dad's will. She wants to claim you manipulated him when he was sick, that you're not entitled to anything he left you. She's planning to sue you. The world seemed to stop spinning for a moment. Through the sliding glass door, I could see David plating our dinner, completely unaware that my entire life was about to be turned upside down again. There's more, Ashley continued, her voice getting smaller. Madison and we've been talking. We know what really happened that night at dinner. We know Mom was wrong. We were wrong. Everything fell apart after you left, and now Mom's just getting worse and worse. She's angry all the time, screaming at us for everything. The house is falling apart. Nobody knows how to do anything, and she's blaming everyone but herself. I sat down hard in one of the cheap plastic chairs on my balcony, trying to process what I was hearing. We want you to know that if she tries to drag you to court, we'll tell the truth. About what she said, about how she treated you, about everything. Madison's been keeping a journal since you left, writing down all the things Mom says when she's having her fits. We have proof. After I hung up, I just sat there staring out at the Denver skyline, all lit up against the mountains. David eventually came out to check on me, took one look at my face, and immediately sat down beside me without saying a word. Just put his arm around my shoulders and waited for me to be ready to talk. That's when I knew for sure I'd made the right choice. This man, who I'd known for less than a year, was offering me more support and understanding than my stepfamily had given me in 6 years. The legal battle never happened. Turns out, when you threaten to sue someone and that someone has 2 witnesses willing to testify about your emotional abuse, plus documented evidence of your lies to mutual acquaintances, plus a legitimate legal right to their inheritance, your lawyer tends to tell you to drop it real quick. But the best part? About a month after Ashley's phone call, I got a package in the mail. Inside was a letter from Madison and a check. The letter was 3 pages long, handwritten, and probably the most honest thing either of those girls had ever said to me. She talked about how jealous she'd been of my work ethic, my independence, my relationship with our dad, how she'd spent her whole life having everything handed to her and never learning to appreciate any of it. How she realized now that I wasn't the problem in our family, I was the solution, and they'd been too selfish and stupid to see it. The check was for $2,000. Her entire savings account emptied out to send to me. I know this doesn't make up for anything, the letter said, but I wanted you to have something to help with school or whatever you need. You earned this money by taking care of all of us for years, and we never even said thank you. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I framed it and hung it in my apartment as a reminder that people can change, that admitting you're wrong takes real courage, and that sometimes the best revenge really is just living well. Today, I'm finishing up my bachelor's degree with a 3.8 GPA. David and I are engaged. He proposed last month during a camping trip in Rocky Mountain National Park, and it was perfect in every way. I'm interviewing for management positions with several major retailers, and I've got my eye on eventually getting my MBA. My stepmother still lives in that house, but from what I hear through the grapevine, it's not the same place it used to be. Madison moved out and got her own apartment, started working at a coffee shop and taking art classes at the community college. She's apparently dating a really nice guy who teaches her practical things like how to change a tire and balance a checkbook. Ashley finally got her GED and is thinking about becoming a veterinary technician. As for my stepmother, well, karma's funny like that. Without any of us kids around to blame for her problems, she's had to face the fact that maybe, just maybe, she's the common denominator in all her failed relationships and family drama. Word is she's been going to therapy, though I'm not holding my breath for any grand apologies or admissions of guilt. She texts me sometimes, usually around holidays or my birthday. Short messages like, hope you're doing well, or thinking of you today. I don't respond, but I don't block her either. Some wounds heal better when you just let them be instead of picking at the scab. The girls and I text occasionally now. Nothing deep or dramatic, just normal stuff. Madison sends me pictures of her artwork sometimes. She's actually gotten pretty good. Ashley shares memes and funny stories about her job at the animal clinic where she volunteers. It's not the sisterly relationship some people might hope for after everything we've been through, but it's honest, and that's more than we had before. People ask me sometimes if I regret leaving, if I ever think about what might have happened if I just toughed it out for one more year until graduation. The answer is always the same, not for a single second. That night at dinner, when my stepmother called me worthless, she gave me the greatest gift of my life. She showed me exactly who she was, and she motivated me to become someone better than I ever thought I could be. I'm not worthless, never was. And now I've got a whole life full of people who know that, starting with myself. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is being pushed out of a situation that was never right for you in the first place. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually redirection towards something so much better than you ever imagined. And sometimes the family that raises you isn't the family that deserves you. But that doesn't mean you're destined to be alone. It just means you get to choose better, people to love, and who love you back the right way. My stepmother thought she was throwing me away. Turns out she was setting me free.